Good morning and thank you for joining us today. I'm Jess Bertan.
And I'm Sarvisa Honey. Here are some of the stories we're following this morning from the On the Record newsroom. The federal Liberal government got its budget passed last night, narrowly. 170 votes for, 168 against. The Liberals by themselves don't have a majority, so not enough votes. Getting the budget passed depended on a combination of things. One, a vote for that came from a former Tory MP who crossed the floor last week, and a handful of abstentions, of which there were four in the end.
We're joined by Sidra Al Jammal. Hi Sidra, thanks for coming in today. There's so much we can talk about regarding the budget, but let's get to talking about where most of this spending is going to go.
Yeah, thanks Jess. The Prime Minister calls this the Building Canada Strong budget. Here, I did up a little graphic to show us where the big spending is going to be. As you can see, the $280 billion plan will focus on these different areas. While the biggest spending is going towards infrastructure, the next biggest category is what they're calling productivity and competitiveness. And as you can see in our graph, spending there is far higher than for defense and for housing, and in fact, for the two combined.
So what does that productivity and competitiveness spending look like?
Well, we're not exactly sure just yet, but what we do know is that part of it will go significantly in investments in education and in research. 1.7 billion earmarked specifically for international researchers, attracting international researchers, the goal being to strengthen Canada as a research capacity and keep the country more competitive, or perhaps make the country more competitive on the world stage. And we're already seeing that movement. The University of Toronto has announced 3 major academic recruits in what looks like the beginning of a push to bring fresh, new talent.
Okay, so walk us through who's coming to U of T.
Right, so first we have Sarah Seeger. She's a prominent astrophysicist. Her work involves research in physics, chemistry, astronomy. She grew up in Toronto. She'd been working in the States for many years, and a big part of the attraction for her was that she is coming home. Another one of the recruits of U of T is Gitlin. She is an economist, and she'll be joining the Rotman School of Management. Finally, also an economist, and as it happens, the husband of Gitlin is Mark Dugan. He's going to be the director of the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. Part of the attraction for Pless and Duggan is that they, as a married couple, have been working across the continent from one another. She at MIT, while he had been at Stanford. Now, not only will they be in the same city, but also in the same university.
Okay, so what about our own university? Where is TMU in all of this?
Well, Jess, I spoke with a talent cultivation expert, and she told me that recruitment by itself isn't enough. She said that the challenge for universities such as ours, much smaller than U of T, is not just attracting top researchers, but creating the conditions to keep them here. I take it that means things like, is this a nice city to live in? What does the housing situation look like? What are the pathways to permanent residency? Things like that.
Okay. Well, thanks, Sidra.
Thanks, Jess.
Sidra has more on this story on our website, ontherecordnews.ca. So, which retailer gets to replace the Hudson's Bay store at the Yorkdale Mall? Well, there's a legal battle going on right now to answer that question. The clothing retailer Fairweather plans to revive one of its old divisions, Les Haillons de la Mode, which it shut down in 2017. But the mall's landlord says it's too down market for Yorkdale. The company appointed by the court to work all this out says Fairweather made the highest and best offer. But Oxford Properties, that's the landlord at Yorkdale, isn't having it. So there will be a court hearing on December 16th, just before Christmas.
Now let's have a look at the other stories we're working on today and this week in our On the Record newsroom. Standing by live in the newsroom is Amulyaa Dwivedi. Amulyaa, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Survi. As the semester starts to wrap up, we've got the last few stories from OTR coming out soon. Among them, one is from our very own Jess Burton. She is bringing us a Q&A with rising country artist Yat Fang, who recently moved from Hong Kong to Toronto. He headlined a show last night at the Horseshoe Tavern where Jess had a chat with him about how he's finding his footing in the city's music scene. You can read her full interview on our website by the end of the week. And if you're on campus a lot, you might have noticed some TMSU election posters around, or maybe we haven't seen any at all, and maybe you didn't even know there was an election coming up. But there is. OTR reporters will be going around this week to see if they can find out what is going on with the election, who is running, and what are nominees up to during this week's campaigning period. And lastly, the third Sunday of November marked a solemn day for families who have lost loved ones to fatal car crashes, and this year that day arrived amid heated debates over road safety in Ontario. Jenna, Gitlin and I took a closer look at the event meant to honor victims, and the growing concern over new provincial legislation that advocates say will put more people at risk. Jenna will have the full story for us up on the OTR website later this week. But in the meantime, we prepared a package to show you how people really feel. So far this year, upwards of 270 people have died on the roads in Ontario. Some in vehicles, some on bikes, and some just walking. Road safety advocates say these deaths were entirely preventable. Some of those advocates have formed a group known as Friends and Families for Safe Streets. On Sunday, they were at Queen's Park to bring the message home to the Ford government. Don't get rid of speed cameras. Of course, it's too late for that. Speed cameras all across Ontario have already disappeared. But this group has been around for much longer than the debate over speed cameras. In fact, some members are literally survivors themselves, or survivors of people who have died in road accidents. This year's event comes just 2 days after the Ford government passed legislation banning speed safety cameras across Ontario. The government says it made the move to protect taxpayers from what it calls a cash grab during a time when many people in Ontario are struggling to make ends meet. Premier Ford says he wants to see other approaches to the problem of speeding. For example, more speed bumps, more roundabouts, and signs with flashing lights. But these people say he's wrong. Jess Speaker is motivated by experience, both her own and others.
Is what happened to an 11-year-old boy named Duncan Zhu in northern Scarborough. He walked through a walkway alongside his schoolyard and crossed the street to just go home. And a speeding minivan driver hit him and killed him in front of his school. And had there been a speed safety camera in that location, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Geoffrey Burkarich is part of the cyclist group called ARC. That stands for Advocacy for Respect for Cyclists. They're the people that place ghostly white bikes anywhere that a cyclist has been killed on the road.
It's pretty insane that we're living in a world that I have to paint memorials to make people remember that every life is sacred. It's not just simply a way of doing business. You can't work a city when you have people dying on the streets and then calling it just a price of doing business and a price of doing the city.
Organizers say Sunday's gathering is both a memorial and a call to action as a reminder to policymakers of the devastating impact unsafe roads leave behind. For OTR News, I'm Amulyaa Dwivedi.
Thanks to Amulyaa and Jenna. ChatGPT, Canva, IKEA, and X. Accessing any of these platforms may have been a problem for you this morning. The common denominator? Their network provider, Cloudflare. It went down, and as a result, so did dozens of internet services. Cloudflare says the problem is now fixed.
New data suggests that Gen Z, that's us, is tossing more food than we need to. A recent study by Dalhousie University says 40% of Canadians between the ages 18 and 24 don't really understand what a best before date means, and that as a result, about a quarter of them, us, are throwing out perfectly good food. The study authors advise people to use the best before date merely as a guideline and to use their senses, sight, smell, taste, which are generally the best judge of freshness.
And now for entertainment, we've got some news on red carpet intruders and anti-AI celebs. Here's Olivia Zhong with more.
An Australian man has been sentenced to 9 days in a Singapore jail after grabbing singer and actress Ariana Grande at the Asia premiere of Wicked for Good. 26-year-old Johnson Wen pled guilty to public nuisance after he leapt over a barrier and rushed towards Grande on the green carpet last Thursday. Videos online show her startled as he grabbed her shoulders before co-star Cynthia Erivo pried him off of her and security stepped in. This isn't the first time Wen has inserted himself into high-profile events. He's previously posted videos of himself interrupting concerts by major artists, including Katy Perry and The Weeknd, and rushing onto sports fields, antics that have led to bans and fines back home in Australia. Meanwhile, Paul McCartney is one of the latest celebrities to join a growing protest in the music world by releasing a nearly silent track. The track is part of a new full-length vinyl called Is This What We Want? And the entire album is made up of silent recordings, meant to call out AI companies accused of using artists' work without permission. McCartney's contribution runs just under 3 minutes and contains mostly tape hiss and the odd studio sounds. He is joining artists like Sam Fender, Kate Bush, and Hans Zimmer, who are urging the UK government to tighten copyright protections. McCartney has warned that the current push to support AI development risks sidelining creators who fuel the industry. And lastly, Tom Cruise has finally won an Oscar after more than 4 decades in the film industry. The action star received an honorary Academy Award on Sunday to celebrate his lifetime of filmmaking. Cruise has been nominated 4 times before, but this is the first time the little gold statue is officially his. And in his own speech, Cruise reflected on falling in love with movies, calling it a spark for adventure, creativity, and understanding humanity. And that's all for entertainment. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Olivia. And the TMU Bold are cooking up some fun this weekend with multiple games and a theme night ahead of us. Here's Ria Sidhu with the details and more on sports.
Thanks. Starting with the CFL, the Saskatchewan Roughriders won Canada's Grey Cup on Sunday. The team claimed their 5th championship after beating the Montreal Alouettes 25-17 at home in Regina, making this their 5th trophy and their first since 2013. Quarterback Trevor Harris led the charge and earned MVP honors after his calm, under-pressure moments throughout the game. And in the world of tennis, Team Canada has punched its ticket to the 2026 qualifying round of the Billie Jean King Cup playoffs after putting on quite the show in Mexico. In a winner-take-all Group A matchup, Canada faced off against Team Mexico and sealed the deal with a 2-0 sweep. And what was at stake? With this win, Canada keeps its place in the top tier of international women's tennis, a vital boost as the 2026 competition starts to shape up. And lastly, in local news, the TMU Bold women's basketball team looks to continue their 7-game winning streak as they take on Algoma University this Saturday at 6 p.m. Meanwhile, our men's hockey team is set to take on the Lakehead Thunderwolves this Friday. Puck drop is set for 6:15. This Friday also marks the Bold's Neon Night and will be their last theme game before the semester wraps up. Fans can enjoy a full night of glow sticks and fun glow-in-the-dark activities. That's all for sports. Back to the desk.
That's all for On the Record this November 18th. I'm Jess Bertan.
And I'm Survi Sahani. Join us for On the Record next week, our final broadcast of this most excellent semester, as we bring you the latest stories from the OTR newsroom.
And for the latest 24/7, visit our website, ontherecordnews.ca. Have a great day.